Here we are. We're up. Bring it up over here just so I can see what's going on. Don't have much tonight to do. Hey, yeah, I got the grinder out. Believe it or not, I was actually showing my daughter how to use it. Oh, sorry about the echo. Hang on a second. Whoops. Hey, Larry. Hey, Vince. Hey, James. Now what? Not much. I was actually happened to be watching a Buck and Billy Ray video last night, and my daughter happened to be watching. And hey, Dennis. And okay, so we have Dennis and James and Larry and Vince and Gavin here. Great. So my daughter happened to be watching the video, and she was watching him sharpen a chainsaw. And she started asking questions about it. And I said, well, why don't I show you a bunch of different ways to do it? And she said, sure. So she actually came down here last night, and she was actually operating this thing. Hey, Casey, did you need a 661 rod? I forget. Do I owe you a 661 rod? I forget. Shoot me an email, because I have... Hang on. Yeah. I have two left. Here. Yeah, that's 661. Casey, was there anything else that you needed other than this? 242, 880, anything? Okay. I could just put this inside of an envelope here. Boom, done. Make sure you deburr it and whatnot. Dennis, I have one left. I have one complete kit right now, and part of the update today. Let's see. Let's sit down here. I am here. Yeah, part of the update today was just to say that the machinist is talking 3 or 4 weeks for lead time just for pre-drilling the rods, and that's I only ordered 3/4 inch rods, so that means that whatever 5/8 left that I have is it. So I may in the next few weeks get some 5/8 rod and get there. So anyway, here's the issue with kits. I end up being kind of uneven in the rods. Like some people want just M12 rods or whatever. So instead, if I order 50 of each, then at the end I might have 10 left of one and none left of the other. So it's never quite even. Right now, the thing that's holding me back are the M14 rods. I think I literally have one left of that, but I have like 7 of the 5/8 rods left. So when I do this huge order, I'm going to have plenty of 3/4 rods. So M10, M12, M14, 661. I'll have plenty of those, but then I'm going to be low on stock on the flywheel side rods. So I'll need to stock up on that. So the whole thing just keeps rolling, you know. Yeah, anyway, so I have one right now that is unclaimed. You were waiting up. 372 specific rod, Gavin. That just so everybody knows, the 372 specific rod is a specific kit just for 372s, and of course you can do 385, 390s with it, and 365 specials. That all those are in there. But if you want to as always, if you want to upgrade to a main kit later, that rod effectively becomes redundant. But anyway, the 372 specific kit is $60 shipped. The main kit is $170 shipped. The main kit doesn't include everything. It just includes 4 rods, 2 sleeves, nuts, bolts, washers, and it'll do most, like 90% of the saws that we're rebuilding. The odd ones it doesn't do, of course, it doesn't do the 880, but I do have a separate sleeve for that. It doesn't do the old 266 or the new 661, but that's this rod right here. I literally have one left of those as well. Or the old 242s and that whole family, and I have those rods. I have a few of those sitting around. Each of those additionals are $30 a piece. Dennis, if you want it, do it quickly. Hi, Andy. Dennis, if you want it, do it quickly. This last one will not last that long. I've had a number of emails. It's just a matter of who gets me the money first. Okay, so this is for Casey. Casey, shoot me an email, and I'll stick your name on this and get it out to you. Obviously, $30 and shipping. I'll eat the shipping. What else? Anything else, guys? So yeah, so the machinist told me 3 to 4 week lead time for the pre-drill. If I can, within those couple of weeks, I'll get some 5/8 rod and ship that down there too. And then hopefully he'll be able to do all those up. Then the problem with that is I'm out all kinds of money up front, so I need to keep the whole thing rolling somehow. We'll see. Last time when I did the big order, I had like 20, 30 orders kind of up front, 20, 30 people that had committed to it. They didn't commit money to it, but right now I don't have anybody that's committed to it, and I'm still going forward with a big order. So I'm really hoping that the whole thing keeps going. What's the best way to get the kit? Just email me, Dennis. Here. And Vince, no. Unfortunately, me doing the work myself is not a good thing. I could potentially do a lot of it on a drill press if I had a tapping head set up, and I'd have to have a very specific jig, so I'd have to do each rod on the lathe and get at least a center hole started, and then once the center holes were started on the lathe, I could move all the rods to a drill press and basically make a jig with like 20 rods in it, and then drill them all out. It would be a lot of work, though. It's an enormous amount of work, and just doing the sleeves, even the sleeves that I'm doing, literally are like single cut and keyway. And it takes me hours to get those done. So, in finding chunks of time, and I do those on the Bridgeport, on my folks' Bridgeport. Finding chunks of time to do that is really hard, at least for me. So yeah, Dennis, get rid of the ampersands. Obviously, just use one. So it's Matty05@AOL.com, and Matty-O, the O is for Olson. It's not a 0. Just so you know. So if anybody's been shooting me emails with a 0 instead of an O, I haven't been getting the emails. Anybody want to hear an odd issue? Sure, Nikki. Okay, this is for Casey. This is yours, buddy. Don't forget to shoot me an email and send me your address and $30 PayPal, and it's yours. While I'm hanging out with you guys, so back to the original story before we got off on the tangent on tools, which is a perfect tangent. But my daughter was wondering how to sharpen chains because she saw Buck and Billy Ray sharpening chains, and I told her that I would show her multiple ways to do it. So she actually came down here and was using this thing last night herself, and she's 8 years old. So. Two-stroke running repair. Hey, glad I caught you. Happy to have you here. Email inbound, and thanks, I will. Sweet. Okay. Sounds good, guys. So who's watching football tonight? I'm not. I'm down here talking to you guys. So anyway, I was just showing my daughter that, I actually have a number of ways to sharpen chains. And these chains that I got, actually the guy showed up today, picked up the 262, and I showed him how it cut, and it cuts pretty good. Man, that it just wants to. There's no decomp on that 262, so, and the timing is probably a little bit on the advanced side, and man, it wants to rip that thing right out of your hand. But once you get it going, it does rip. You watching the Steelers game? They were down last I saw. Go Colts! I haven't seen the Colts playing tonight, so I happen to go to Dick's Sporting Goods tonight with my son for the first time, and he actually held a basketball and a baseball for the first time at 5 years old. So, went there 10 up. So anyway, that's what I was doing. Right. So back to sharpening chains. So my daughter was down here. So I have a couple of ways to sharpen chains. I like the grinder just to kind of get a chain back a little bit. I think it's fastest. So I do a bunch of these, and then I'll, out in the field, I'll hand file it. Obviously, I know that you can do rakers with this, but I don't. So for the most part, I just do those by hand. It's pretty quick. So the other way, I actually have these diamond bits here for the Dremel, and these actually work pretty good. Again, it depends on what you're doing, but if you're actually out in the field, because this is cordless, if you're out in the field, you could bring a chain back a whole lot faster with this than you could by hand, I think. For tonight, I'm just going to use the grinder while I'm chatting with you. And obviously, I have my hand. The hand files that Buck and Billy Ray uses are just the wooden handle and the file out here, and I just don't know. I see how he does it, and it's a very, very, very light touch, and it just doesn't make any sense to me to not have a handle, out on the other side. So my dad had these this old Homelight piece, and they actually make replicas of it. I think they're like Pakistani or whatever, but I do like this just because you can hold it on both ends and keep the file straight. Anyway, so saw starts to run fine until it gets into the second or third dies, needs to choke restart again another till. That's my wife. Hang on a second, guys. I'm downstairs live. What are you doing? It's pretty wide. You didn't measure it before you left? Oh. Do you need me to measure it right now? or potentially be trim? Where do you want to measure to? Well, measuring for that is tricksy. So you have to figure out how far the shade goes from one side to another. So, if you want it to cover the trim on both sides, or if you just want it to cover the window. You want it to just cover the window? Okay. All right. Let me go measure it real quick, and I'll text you. Okay. You want width and length, roughly? All right. I'll be right back. I'll text you. Bye. Shade dimensions for a single window. The question is, do I have a stinking tape measure? I don't know. Hang on. I have a bunch of tape measures. It's just I don't know. I don't know when. Come on. Guys, talk amongst yourselves. I'll be back. Let me just go grab a tape measure. Sorry. Alright, thank God I didn't have to go out to the shed. Sorry, guys. Let me just text her real quick. There we go. 42 wide. Big window. Okay, let's go back here to you guys. The Johnsburgs. Okay, hang on a second. And vapor lock. I won't see the saw myself until tomorrow. Get a compression test. Pull the muffler. Bad pulse line, air leak, could be something funky in the carburetor, choking it off. Who knows? Two grinders set up for teeth, one for rakers, with a quarter-inch wheel on the raker grinder, profile and an angle. That's cool. You make all your same teeth, and I disagree with Bucket on that. Well, Vince, I mean, I think it makes sense to keep all the teeth the same length, but you don't have to. I think Bucket's point is like you don't have to keep the teeth the same length. Just make sure all the rakers are appropriate to that tooth, which is fine if you want to spend all that time on the rakers. You know, making sure every single raker is exactly to that tooth, and to me that's it's a lot of work, but whatever. Buy 3 tape measures every time we go to the depot. Still can't find one. Yeah, I know. My son is 3, loves to play with them. I'm really good at leaving them and forgetting where. Yeah, they're probably outside getting rusty. Teeth at various lengths, as long as the raker is set accordingly, all sharp. Don't notice a difference in the cut. Two-stroke, again, that's kind of Buchan's point, is that you can have different size teeth as long as the rakers are set appropriately. It will cut straight, and that's fine. But if you're just trying to keep everything consistent, then why not try it? And then all you have to do is count strokes on the rakers, and you're more or less there. And for people that are lazy like me in that respect, then why not, right? I fitted a new ring 3 weeks ago. The guy is a saw nut, sort of sure. Everything pinched up nice, not screaming, drying air. Is the intake boot block correct after changing the ring? Two-stroke, that's a good point with the intake block. Make sure the intake block is correctly up, or correctly up and down. I did an entire video on that a while ago. Um, yeah, and somebody who I won't say at this point online told me that the intake block might be upside down, and sure enough, it was. If you do have the intake block upside down, the impulse is screwy, and you might find that the saw runs for whatever reason. It has cut. It just wasn't flowing fuel appropriately. Hello everyone. Hey Tim. And Thomas Jung. Hello. Bucking has sharpening chains low. Rakers are so overlooked. Bob, I agree. Everybody somehow forgets about the rakers. I just want to keep everything even. That way I can then count strokes on the rakers, and then everything's even. But you don't have to do it that way. I thought it was Nikki's 394 that we're talking about the intake block. But if it's 2253, then it's a different story. I figure I'm going to take the time to hand file the chain. I'm going to take the next 5 minutes to get the rakers right. There's a reason I don't do a lot of sharpening stuff. How to sharpen a chain. It's because there are a lot of guys out there that have been doing a lot longer than me, and I'm not an authority on chain sharpening. So in general, that and oil and that type of stuff, I just try to stay away from as topics. Um, I do certain things a certain way, and we leave it at that and call it a day. Kevin McKenney, Bucking is on it. Hi everyone, Bucking is on it. Okay, Rackers are underplayed. Rackers are underplayed in the fall. Okay. Anyway, welcome everybody. I'm literally here hanging out. Let's see. My wife giving me pictures of stuff here. I know. I have to be the best husband ever by paying attention. Of course, my connection isn't good for whatever reason. Dennis, I did get your email. Dennis, if you're there, what do you need other than I need your address, and what you do is you just send me PayPal if you want a main kit, you don't need anything else. Just send me PayPal, friends and family only. Otherwise, you're going to be paying an extra 4% or whatever it is. That's your call. If you want to pay the extra 4%, that's fine. But if you want to send it friends and family, then it's $170 for the main kit shipped, just to my email address, and I'll ship it out as soon as possible. Let's see if I can come back live here. Holy cow, everybody's on. Rakers, depth gauges, or drags. Yeah, I think rakers is actually a misnomer. I think depth gauges is more correct. I think rakers is not the right term for these, even though everybody calls them rakers. Gas tank sealer. Any ideas? Kevin. So just today I talked to Onan 18, who is in Georgia, and he was talking to me about the 5-horse Briggs that I'm working on, and he had a few things to say about it. Number one was check the gas tank and make sure that it's not rusty. And I did, and there is no rust in the gas tank. It's fine. But what he did say was, because the gas tanks are no longer available, if for whatever reason you needed to fix the rust, what you could do is take it to a radiator shop, have them boil it out or whatever, clean it internally, and then they have a ceramic coating that they can bake in there that seals the tank and coats it. So I don't know, maybe you can take it to whatever you're trying to seal, take it to a radiator shop and see if they can do that for you. Yes, the arguments can go on and on. Yes. I'm not interested in the arguments. Advanced child, my machine is probably a bit too ample. Used to high tolerance of stuff being different lengths. Firewood piles of all different lengths. Matt, your grinder could do the rakers. Yeah, I know. I know. I do the rakers by hand. I have those little save edge files, and they work pretty good, so I'm really not worried about it. Dennis, you got the message. Okay, good. And Dennis, if I get the money tonight, like right now, what I'll do is I'll put the kit together for you right here. In fact, I'll just do that and assume you're going to pay me. So we'll put your kit together right here, I think. If it's a crack, seal all works great. Nikki, high two-stroke. Have you used a Carlton file plate? No, I have not, Tim. I do not even have raker gauges. I don't even have one. I need it, but whatever. I'll get one eventually. It'll happen. I just haven't gotten it. Best fingernail trimmer ever. I didn't even think about that. Dogs around here. The term rakers comes right, but rakers on the old crosscut saws it was still not the same thing, right? I remember it just being a misnomer of some kind. Yeah, depth gauge is probably a better term, or drag. Yeah, metal gas tank Adirondacks. Silicate for repairing metal tanks. Right on, thanks. Okay, well, tell you what. Should I put together Dennis's kit Let's put the if Dennis is getting a kit, let's put that together. How's that? All right, I'm gonna put this up here so I don't lose the battery, because you guys are gonna kill me again if I lose my battery. Just so everybody knows, if suddenly I go off the deep end there as far as buffering, then it's probably because my battery went. Okay, so this can go over here for a moment. Put together Dennis's kit. Let's put together Dennis's kit. He'll be happy. He'll be together. So yeah, so Dennis, do you need the 661, the old 266 Husky 266, or the new Steel 661? Either of those come on this rod. Do you need this? Yes or no? Oh, plastic 353 chainsaw gas tank. Change the tank, Kevin. I've tried to repair gas tanks, and every time I do plastic repairs on gas tanks, it just doesn't hold. Thanks for the comment, James. I appreciate that. Hopefully, I can continue to, you know, contribute here in a meaningful way to people. You know. Here's my last. So yeah, Dennis. So here's. We'll do this. Hang on. So that was my last M14 rod. This is M12. M10. I have 4 of left. So. Okay, so this is a main kit right here, and then with the sleeves and whatnot. But you have the flywheel rod. You can use the large. I encourage you to use the large sleeve with this, or the small sleeve. The large sleeve is for large saws. The small sleeve is for small saws. If you try to use the small sleeve on a large saw, you're going to mushroom the sleeve. Don't do that. Where's Craig? Great video of Craig doing that. Don't do that. M10. Bye, Nikki. Oh no, bye, Two Stroke. Bye. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for hanging out. So with a main kit, you get 3 rods that go for the clutch side. M10, M12, and M14 with different configurations here. So M14 are the bigger steels, and Husky 372. M12 are most steels, and the M12 by 1.25 is like a 394 size. So most Huskies, most older Huskies anyway. M10 would be really small steels, and M10 by 1.5 are some of the smaller Huskies. So for the most part, you can do just about 25 people on. Hey, Adirondacks, are we going to get there? We're not going to get a record tonight, are we? No, probably not. Anyway, so this does like 90% of the saws that guys are rebuilding now. So 440s, 660s, 372s, 394s, 395s, all that stuff. I mean, this will do just about all of that. The only thing it won't do, like I just mentioned earlier, what it won't do are the old Husky 266s, the new Steel 661s, the old 242s, and the 880s. So you need extra stuff on that. So if you need to do any of those, we'll put on the extra stuff. If you don't need to do those, we'll just do a main kit. Most people just need a main kit because they're not doing that other stuff. Yeah, I think we had 40, 41, somewhere like that, Anurag. So I think we're way away from the record here. Yes, I've tried melting plastic into there, and it just doesn't work. Main kit is all you need. No, 170, not 175. Here's a sleeve. Dennis, do you mind a ding on here? It's just got a little ding. Is that okay? Do you mind? It won't matter. Just making sure. Okay. Let's get this good here. Be good. Gotta be good. And so that's a small sleeve. Now I need a large sleeve, and they're on the other side. Let me go grab one. Hopefully one day I can get organized. Okay, so I'm just going to take some of the edges off. Nothing wrong with modifying these, guys. If you need it shorter or whatever, or grind some out of here, whatever you need, do it. It's not a big deal. Most of the guys don't need to modify them, but there's really nothing wrong with it. Herding cats. Okay, Dennis, I'll check it in a minute. Okay, 2 sleeves. Oh, that's already done. Don't worry about that. Little burrs on these show up. Make sure you check them anyway before you use them. And I definitely recommend a dry run. So make sure that you know which one fits on your clutch and flywheel side before you act, and make sure it goes on there and holds before you do anything. So number 1 tip is make sure the bearings are installed in the cases first before you grab my tools. These tools are not for installing bearings in cases. They're intended to pull a crank through a bearing. That is what they are for. So install the bearings in the cases first. Position them however you want. It's up to you. You know, you can do them hot. You can do them cold. However you like. It doesn't matter. Okay, now I'm going to check for burrs on here. That's not too bad. That's not too bad either. That's M10. Around there, we don't need that. So that's the first thing has to do with, the first tip has to do with positioning bearings. The second tip is, like I said before, make sure that you use a large sleeve, which is this one, with large saws, and small sleeves with small saws. More specifically, large sleeve, large bearing. Hey, Roadrunner. 22 people here. That's awesome. What kind of right angle is this? This is a DeWalt right angle drill, and I love it. I think it's outworked my my main DeWalt drill quite a bit. So, does everybody remember when these were like $300? The whole kit was like $600, and I can tell you that this has been in the shop twice. I had to warranty this twice. I haven't touched this. Dennis, you're gonna giggle as soon as you use this. Use this once, you will giggle. And for those of you guys that haven't done it, I do appreciate if you go on OPE, an arborist site. Don't start a new thread, okay? Don't start a new thread. But if you do post in one of the threads that are already started, a review would be awesome. Yeah, I've got like 6 batteries. They not cheap. They're like, oh, they were $100 a piece. Okay. Good there. That's an M5. Put that there. Okay. Bob Smith, how's it going? Welcome. Yeah, what happens is, what happened to me was I stopped worrying about splitting cases. Bob Smith, got a question. Shoot. And if I can't answer it, one of the other guys here can. Peter can answer. So Dennis, you just sold out of tools. So Dan Price, you like it, huh? Of course you like it. These are good. Don't forget there's a sticker. There's a sticker in your bag here. And Dennis, I'll slap a label on this later and get it out to you, okay? Bob, remember the 360 kit size sold, not running, started, and it started going to the truck who watching Scott and build another. I really am not impressed with the 360 kits. I after building it, I just wasn't sure that it was worth it, you know. But that was me. So Dennis, this is for you, buddy. Yeah, I got this for Dennis, and I got this for Casey. I'm just gonna Dennis and Casey. Okay, just need labels. I don't know when I'll get to the post office or when they'll be open or whatever. Maybe tomorrow afternoon. If I could do it tomorrow afternoon, that'd be good. Thinking smaller. Awesome. Yes. Dennis, you got the last one, buddy. Gonna be 3 or 4 weeks before I have more. Sucks. I'm sorry. Favorite tool at the workshop. That's awesome, Dan. Okay, so 170, 250, which one? I don't like the 250. I really don't. I didn't like the 360 kit either. I think the Chinese kits are really best big. So, for instance, I think the 372 kit can make sense. I think the 660 kit can make sense, but I'm not sure that that the other kits make a whole lot of monetary sense, because you can go buy a brand new 170 for what, $200, like with a warranty. My father-in-law has a 250, and I've run it, and it's not. And Steve might be on now. My father-in-law has a 250, and I'm just not that impressed with it. If you're gonna run a small saw, the Husqvarna 350s are a great project, and you can go through my channel and see how to put a 350 together bolt for bolt. I think it's a great project. There's lots of parts available in the aftermarket. There's lots of parts available OEM all over the place. So, yeah, if you're doing a small saw, I think there's really not a whole lot of point in going a whole lot smaller than a Husky 350, which is 50cc. Because you can just play around with them forever. They're great saws to modify. Been running the 350 all day today. Awesome. Mine keep having head bolts that pop off. But whatever, you know. Yeah, the 350s you can pick up used, and do not spend too much money on them. Be careful about that. A lot of people think they're worth a lot of money. They're not. I go over all those issues elsewhere on my channel. There's a video on like the top tips for Husky 350s, because there are some very known issues with the Husky 350s. So you do have to be careful about that. They're not that big of a deal if you address them specifically, but you got to address them. It's really important. So there's another video that I have, like top tips on the Husqvarna 350 or something like that. You can check that out. But there's lots of lots of Husky 350 stuff on my channel, and I go over things bolt for bolt so you can see what to do to make sure they're modified as you need, and once you get them to run, they will run. Yeah, it's buy and rebuild. Yeah, it's definitely not kits. So if you're, I just was not that impressed with the 360 kit. The 440 kit was eh. I haven't tried a 361 kit yet, but from Steel or from Hoozle, sorry. I've not tried a 361 kit yet. the Aura 380 kit. I have done the 660 kits. I think those can be worth it. Those are, for bang for buck. If you're saying, okay, I'm going to spend $400 on a saw, the 660 is really good bang for that $400. You do have to buy some OEM parts for it to make it more reliable. But once you do all that stuff, you have a pretty, rockin' saw. Small saws, if you want something small like a 170 or 180, go buy one brand new with a warranty. If you're looking to fiddle, I wouldn't be my first choice to put together one of those as far as like fiddling. If you're fiddling with a small saw, the Husky 350 is the ticket. My opinion. Bob, that is what you worked on last week. Yes. Blues Freak, buy an Echo saw. Well, that's a very generic statement. You want to back that up? Actually, if I was going to go buy a Echo today, I would probably get that 2511, that really cute little one, the top handle. That would be fun. I think that'd be fun to run and play with and whatnot. I think that'd be cute. The 350 353. Actually, the 350 and the 353 are very similar. The only difference is that the 353 has a magnesium chassis and the 350 has a plastic chassis. Now, that's an interesting debate in and of itself. Which one's better? I think you can make an argument for either. It just depends on, the plastic case. It can get burnt if the muffler falls off or whatever. The plastic can get melted all the way through into the oil tank, and then you've got an oil leak. The magnesium case can crack. It does. The plastic doesn't crack that easy. They get quite beat up, and they're just fine. So there's pluses and minuses to both, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, I would stay away from the plastic cases." No, that's not necessarily the ticket. There are some very real issues with the plastic case saws. I think they can be mitigated. So yeah, the 350 and the 353 have the same top end. It's a 45 millimeter pseudo open port top end. Same top end, just different cases. Tips for building the 440 crank position and clearance. You wanted to build it. Yeah, Bob, I would go with the Husky 350. See if you can find one to build up, and you just follow my videos along, and it's not a bad build. Tips for building the 440 crank position clearance. I wrestled with the 440 quite a bit, and basically came to the conclusion that the bearing that Hoozle included was too thick. So I'll use this bearing as an example. This is just a junk proprietary bearing, but the inner race, this dimension on the 440 should be only 9 millimeters wide. It was 10. That extra millimeter messed up the whole crank position thing. On the 440, you need to take the crank. Position the bearing first, like always. Position the bearing first in the chassis up against the oiler, right? Put the oiler in, pull the bearing in until it stops up against the oiler. You've got your positive stop. Once you have that, then you pull the crank all the way through until on the PTO side until it stops. Rather than in the inner race, the outer race is fatter, but on the inner race, make sure it's only 9 millimeters thick. If it's 10, then my opinion would be change out the bearing. Either get OEM PTO bearing, or I think the ones that HL Supply had, the cross bearings actually have 9 millimeters, which is the same dimension as original. Otherwise, what happens is you build the whole thing. The crank comes through the bearing, and then you put all the stack of everything on it. The clutch, the drum, everything, and then the E clip won't click on because the crank is literally not long enough. So by a millimeter, it's frustrating. So the other thing that I did was I put a highway clutch on it, and the highway clutch is thinner also by just a little bit. So that could help too. Does that explain that? Bob says, thanks for your input. You're welcome. James Faust, I got 3 John Deere saws from the 60s. Are they worth building? James, I don't know. I'm not familiar with those. In general, I don't run stuff that doesn't have a chain brake. So if those don't have chain brakes, it wouldn't be my thing. To a collector, sure. If you're a collector, you want to do that, fine. Pot X you full. Pot X you full. Hello. Hi. John Deere's or Echoes, good saw. It's not my cup of tea, but there are plenty of guys that like that sort of stuff. If that's you, that's fine. Old saws are great projects. Do your homework on parts available. Yeah, parts availability is a big thing for me. I like having lots of parts available. 372 extra and an older Husky 55 and Echo. Use Echo for most of firewood because it's lighter. Yep. Tend to grab my Husky 350 quite a bit, just because it's lighter, rather than grab the 372 off the shelf. Carb kit fuel lines. Yep. I still, on the old saws, would certainly recommend some new seals, some new crank seals, minimum. But whatever. I'm just going to do some grinding while you guys talk. If you want to ask questions about tools or anything, let me know. Hybrid woodwork. Spent the afternoon 661 to mill up an 18-inch right into this. Curious how hard it should work. High load, low RPM. Hi, Patrick. Okay, hybrid woodwork. Spent the afternoon 661 cm to mill up an 18-inch maple load, high load, low RPM. And the answer is don't use a chainsaw for milling. If you want long life out of your chainsaw, don't use it for milling. They're not. It's not that the 661 can't do it, but milling is really hard on chainsaws, and so it in general shortens the life of a saw. Now, higher RPM, versus low RPM. If you think about a saw, it runs pretty. These are designed to run at high RPM these days. Ideally, you always want to run a saw, in its peak torque curve, um, which means that the chain has to be sharp and the rakers have to be adjusted appropriately. So it really ends up being more about the chain than about the saw, I think. Um, Overall, I'm not a big fan of chainsaw milling. You're taking a 6X1 is, I would say, a very highly regarded saw, and you're asking it to do like the hardest thing possible. So I wouldn't mill with such a nice saw. I mill with a Husky 394 that I built, and I try to avoid chainsaw milling in general because I'm not that good at it. But I have a bandsaw mill, and even a cheap bandsaw mill will just for if you're doing dimensional lumber at that size, it's so much faster, it's so much more efficient, and you're not going to beat up your equipment. Pretty much any milling with a chainsaw, you're asking that saw to do a lot of work. So I hope that does that answer the question. I hope that answers the question. Patrick O'Donohue, what's your favorite source for seals and bearings? 372 MS. Patrick, I like if I'm doing a 372, I like the highway kits. Um, I do like the highway kits for bearing for seals because all the gaskets, all the seals come in a single sleeve from Highway, and they're pretty inexpensive. So I usually get those from HL Supply. And if you're going to order from there, remember to use my link. I would appreciate that. Did a bucket list item, solved a Rubik's Cube via YouTube video, checked off my list. I, I need to do that too. I started the other day on a Rubik's Cube. I didn't finish. Take care, Nikki. Have a good night. Stay with the Pro Saws and any brand if you're going to build. Yeah, Tim, it's a good point. Um, at the end of the day, if you want resale value about something that's really quote unquote worth rebuilding, then the pro level saws are probably the ticket. So ideally, a 346 XP, but the 350s can perform just as well. They really can. So if you only get a plastic case, 350 as opposed to 346 XP, either way, if you get them for cheap, great. Don't let people sell you on those and let them charge you a lot of money for them. You got to be real careful about that. The even a 346 XP, as desirable as they are, if it doesn't have the metal intake clamp on the motor, it needs to be considered a part saw until proven otherwise. Because you need to pull the head in order to put that clamp on. And unless you're, reasonably experienced at it, a shop would charge you a significant amount of money for that. So, people want a few $100 for these things. They're not worth that. Just be careful, okay? Hey, Earl. I had a guy buy a 661 just for milling. Told him the very same thing. Yeah. It's like, well, you could buy, a really big saw like that, but I really don't think a 661 is intended for milling. As nice of a saw as steel put together, I know people have issues with 661s, but whatever. As nice of a saw as steel put together, I just don't think the milling. Um, I'm wrecking somebody's day for sure, but yeah, I'm I'm right there with you, Earl. if you want to check out an inexpensive bandsaw mill, look at Woodland Mills. They have them, just over $3,000. I mean, you spent $1,200 on a 661, and the amount of time you're going to spend with a chainsaw, at least on small logs, the amount of time you're going to spend with a chainsaw is like triple or quadruple for every single cut, not to mention the gas. The chainsaw beats me half to death. Keep the oil going real good, hybrid, Oiling's important. Often, I think a lot of people, I just saw this question earlier today on one of the forums, how can I put a 24-inch bar on a saw? Well, the saw may have the power to do it, but does it have the oiling capacity? Can you oil a bar like that? Maybe, maybe not. Same thing with the milling. Can you oil what you need to oil? And if you can keep the oil on it, you can keep everything cool, it'd probably be fine. Octellen has it right. I would suggest looking at Woodland Mills. Norwood actually has one now that is entry level, looks pretty good. Just, from the ads, I don't have any personal experience. I have a Woodland Mills, and it's not a big mill, but I put nice long rails with it, and you can cut something that's awful long, make a nice long beam, Hybrid Woodworks, name is Ed. I'm Matt. Nice to meet you. My band mill hit 30-inch wide cut, 16 feet long, in about 20 seconds. Yeah, Bob's mill is a little bigger than mine. almost done. Couple more links. The log right arches are expensive. I've had the good fortune to be able to build mine for myself, and it works quite well, at least for what I do. Well, having a nice big motor certainly helps, Bob. If you guys want to see a great channel, Linda's Sawmill Cinema is what it's called. Look up Linda's Sawmill Cinema. They have millions of subscribers, I think. They're fantastic to watch. I think they have like a 30-horse electric motor on their Wood Miser. And man, does that thing cut. Pretty nasty looking. Linda and the family kick ass. Yeah, they do. They're fun to watch because they're just such a great team. Always good to watch a good team. Plan to use the 61 only for logs that can't move back to the house. Yeah, you know, certainly the benefit to chainsaw milling is it's portable, but you still have to move the slabs back. For hydraulics, and yes, I hear the woodland is agreement. The woodland's okay. You know, it's at least it's not amazing. And mine was a much earlier version. I think that they've done a lot more with the mill at this point, but it does. It built me a shed, and I have enough lumber probably to build shed number two. So I've learned a lot. I've had a great time, and eventually the mill will go back to my father's house, which will be a much better place for it, I think. Is my stone cracked? No. The stone itself might be out of balance. The yeah, there's a lot of vibration, but the stone itself, the edge of the stone is running true. So man, I found this month on gas motors, motor drops RPM, the blades have a tendency to dip or dive. Electric motors don't seem to have much of the same problem. Yeah, I have a lot of dipping and diving, especially if I don't keep the blades absolutely sharp. And I run into knots and things. You get up diving and whatnot. It's really annoying. There's a reason the boards in my shed have like these S curves to them. And Dennis, yes, I did get your emails. Hey, Craig, you're actually doing some cutting today. Good. I didn't get to do any cutting today. It's not true. The 262 got picked up, so we get a little bit of cutting, but nothing, significant. And Out of the Woods is a channel in chainsaw milling. Tim, I think I saw that. I didn't. I haven't really gotten into it yet, though. Dude West, how's it going? Wow, I dropped all the way down to 12? That's weird. I thought there was a lot of people here. So, yeah, I really don't like. I don't like Woodmiser's design. I don't like that cantilever thing. It just it doesn't make any sense to me why they would do that. I know that a lot of people have great experience with them, um, but the design of it, probably wouldn't be my first choice. Timber King or I do like the Cook's Mill stuff. I really, looking at it, and again, I don't have personal experience with it, but after looking at it, I've liked to see the Cook's Sawmill stuff. I think they have an approach that really makes a lot of sense. So, you know, um, it'd just be nice to stick an electric motor on it. The new Woodmiser Alex might be badass. Well, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of cool stuff, and just to see the progression that Woodland has made. My yeah. Oscar that mills 72 inches. That would be cool. I have no use for such a thing, but that would be cool. Um, guys, I am losing my battery here, so I'm probably gonna say goodnight. Uh, I've enjoyed hanging out with you guys, but it's time to go. Spend a few minutes with the family, and what else? I have to go to work tomorrow. No problem, James. No problem at all. Yeah, nice chatting. This is good chat tonight, guys. I really appreciate it. This was really cool. Um, I don't know when I'll come on again. Ooh, tomorrow. If for whatever reason FedEx has showed up at the steel dealership, hopefully I can get the parts and we can put that 200T together tomorrow night. and then I can move that out of my basement. That would be good. So if we could do that tomorrow, that would be great. And other than that, the Briggs motor, I think we're going to do a little bit more of a teardown than I thought, and maybe do some valve lapping and all that stuff. So, which I haven't done before, but we'll stumble through it. So that's the update on that. And I'm out of kits. For those people that haven't been here for the last half an hour, I'm out of kits now. So it's going to be 3 or 4 weeks before I restock. If anybody's interested, they can always email me. I'll throw the email in. And that's that. I don't see buffering here. I think we're good. So anyway, everybody, thanks so much for hanging out. This is a really great chat tonight. Let's keep this up. This is cool. I really appreciate it. Everyone have a great night. Yes, have a if I don't talk to everybody, have a great New Year's. Happy New Year to everybody. Take care and be safe. Thanks, Craig. Yep. See ya. No, I'm not gone. I'm here. Bye.